Around 5 years ago, I started to get serious about storm photography. Back then, I didn't know nearly as much about severe storm behavior and forecasting as I do now. I've been fortunate enough to visit Tornado Alley twice, and even in Pennsylvania, I've captured some incredible stuff. To celebrate this personal milestone, I put together a list of my top 10 favorite storm chasing experiences from the last 5 years. Number 10 is shared by two pretty similar events. After dark on August 20th, 2019, a Boeing squall line was crossing into western Pennsylvania. The outflow boundary surging ahead of the storm front formed a ragged, toothy shelf cloud. This storm started firing off lightning bolts as it creeped ever closer. ', 2019 was a great year for lightning time-lapse photography. And this might just be my favorite sequence of the whole season. Two weeks later, I was back at the same spot as another squall line appeared on the horizon. The waning daylight set the stage for an ominous light show. Soon enough, another smooth, wave-like shelf cloud emerged from the darkness. Farther down the line, bolts of lightning revealed an even larger and more impressive shelf structure. I was torn over where to point the cameras the whole time. Number 9 is another toss-up. Hey, I make the rules here. We'll start with this Midwest fall severe weather event. A heavy squall line with a history of tornadoes was making its way into western Ohio. We were heading into an area of apparent rotation, lots of lightning and strong wind, all hidden in the murky green downdraft region. By the time the storm showed itself, it was racing toward us. So began our futile attempt to stay ahead of it, with high winds right on our heels and positively charged lightning bolts crashing all around us. The sky above us turned black and an ominous shadow fell across the area. The storm finally did catch up with us, and we were swallowed up by a wall of wind and rain. Instead of plowing through the wind, we found a driveway to pull over and wait out the worst of it. Driving back east through the backside of the squall treated us to some nice lightning bolts. An afternoon of following severe storms around northwestern Pennsylvania kicked off when we came face to face with a menacing shelf cloud. It swallowed up the sky and dragged its tendrils across the mountains, creating small pockets of suspicious cloud motion, like this possible gust front spin-up. Could it be a tornado? The world may never know. Heading to the Hermitage area brought us to some weakly rotating thunderstorms. This one started to develop a wall cloud, but we lost it searching for a vantage point and stayed behind to watch the lightning. Right after this one, another severe storm blew up to the west and built up an impressive shelf cloud. It's not often that I'm treated to multiple photogenic severe thunderstorms in one day. Number 8. A small group of thunderstorms with slight rotation was heading toward the Youngstown area. On a whim, I decided they were worth going after, so we made a break for the state border and found ourselves at a travel plaza, watching the sky rip open with one intense bolt of lightning after another. The storm looked kind of unimpressive on radar, but ended up producing one of the best lightning displays I've ever shot, so here's one more reason for me to go with my gut. Number 7. 2 thunderstorms exploded into the atmosphere over the Black Hills of South Dakota. They collided and became a complex supercell with an ambiguously rotating center. Watching the storm evolve, it was difficult to tell visually where exactly the mesocyclone was. Lightning crashed down across the forward flank. As the storm continued to shapeshift and its structure emerged from the rain, we were treated to a fascinating display of atmospheric motion. The layers of cloud material formed beautiful laminar shapes, twisting and rolling over the mountains, all the while lightning continued to hammer the mountainsides. As quickly as it formed, the storm started to die out, allowing beautiful golden sunlight to shine through. The rotating updraft column shriveled away until there was nothing left but a funnel cloud, whirling high up in the sky. Number 6. Sometimes you just get lucky. An impressive supercell formed just over the Ohio state line, heading northeast and moving fast. We got on I-79 heading north for a small intercept window. By the time we reached the storm's path, it was projected to be right on top of us. A couple miles from the storm, we finally saw it through the trees. The supercell took on a structure you don't often see in Pennsylvania, a well-defined mesocyclone with a spiraling bowl-shaped base. The wall cloud exhibited tight rotation and a pendant inflow tail. This was a textbook low-precipitation supercell. However, the storm was weakening. We were right underneath it, so we got off the highway and found a place to stop. The wall cloud was beginning to fall apart. As I was setting up my tripod, a brief spin-up occurred just up the road. I concluded that this was most likely a tornado, albeit a very weak and brief one. It was very fortunate that this tornado occurred in a mostly rural area, otherwise it could have tossed a stick on somebody's roof. Number 5. A line of severe storms with tornado warnings was sweeping across southern Ohio. We were heading west on a collision course, angling for a chance to intercept an area of embedded rotation. The storm gave us little time to position. With few viable options for a vantage point, we pulled around the side of a natural gas warehouse as the area fell under a tornado warning. Then the barrage of lightning began. The sky turned a sickly green color and lightning flickered overhead. Just over the hills to the west, a menacing storm lurked in the darkness, waiting to show itself. What appeared in front of us was the most photogenic and intimidating shelf cloud I've ever seen. Its presence dominated the sky and ushered in a wall of torrential rain, emanating an eerie turquoise color from deep within. The storm left behind a cold stillness broken by small bursts of spider lightning, and the sirens of emergency vehicles racing past us. Another reminder of the darker side of chasing storms, that a great day for us might turn out to be a terrible day for others. Number 4 was the first derecho I've ever experienced. A high wind and possible tornado event was setting up across western Ohio. Storm cells went up quickly and started to rotate. After navigating between heavy showers and gusty winds, we found ourselves staring down a supercell linear hybrid storm as the mesocyclone took its last breath. After just a couple minutes, we were blasted by the downdraft, so we kept moving. The storm joined with others in the area to become a powerful derecho that would leave a swath of wind damage hundreds of miles wide across the state. We followed along behind it until we cut through a weaker segment to the other side. Another segment started to bow forward, so we parked on a hillside and let the storm come blowing toward us. Being overtaken by the storm put us up against winds possibly up to 60 miles per hour. Heading east and getting out ahead of another bow segment brought us a barrage of close lightning strikes. As the storm started to pass again, we stuck around this time for the grand finale. A breathtaking display of fiery sunset colors, a vibrant double rainbow, massive golden sunbeams, skittering bolts of anvil lightning, and mammatus that stretched across the sky. As the sun dipped lower, the scene only became more spectacular, giving me photos I've been hoping to capture for years. However, the elusive spider lightning only appeared occasionally, so I had to wait until just after the sun had gone down to catch one more incredible shot. Wrapping up this intense day that felt like 4 chases in one, and another big motivator for me to get out to Ohio more often. Number 3 takes us back to the day I saw my first tornado. In another stroke of luck, we managed to intercept a well-put-together supercell as it was crossing western Pennsylvania. Realizing our vantage point wouldn't work out, we took off after it, heading north on I-79, and ended up navigating through forests and valleys on winding country roads. The supercell stayed just ahead of us for some time until we finally caught up with it. After crossing the Allegheny River and racing through farmland, we broke out into a clearing and saw the rotating wall cloud right outside the window. At that moment, the tiniest little twister spun up over the hill. Just a few strands of cloud material, no stronger than an EF0. This was a defining moment for me, the moment I could finally call myself a tornado chaser. We made a right turn and reached the damage path, where we got a good look at the swirling funnel cloud, unable to tell if it was still on the ground. The tornado was just strong enough to overturn a light bench and pull a window shutter off the side of a house, along with tossing around some tree branches. From there, we watched the swirling wall cloud retreat off into the distance as the supercell spun itself out. Number 2 was the night I captured some of my greatest photos yet. I was extremely lucky considering I was still learning how to use my camera, and I barely even bothered with the settings before I started shooting. After sundown, a thunderstorm cluster appeared in the distance. We arrived at the beach with the cameras and I started shooting. Moments later, the heavens opened above us and unleashed a spectacle of nature's fury like I had never seen. And now, since the footage doesn't do it enough justice, the photos. Before we get to number 1, let's see the honorable mentions. A real Great Plains supercell is a sight to behold. The summer months bring massive, beautiful thunderstorms to the northern prairie, and we were lucky enough to get up close and personal with 2 of them in one day. Our first storm began as a mountain of billowing cumulonimbus. Out of the bright white curtains of hail and rain emerged a funnel cloud that quickly fizzled out, but the storm was only strengthening. With a heavy downdraft cutting us off from the storm base, we circled around and positioned on a hill southeast of the mesocyclone. Standing on that hill was an unforgettable experience. Feeling the raw power this storm exerted, feeling it breathe and grow above us. This storm was like nothing I had ever seen in person, a classic Tornado Alley high precipitation supercell, constantly transforming from one incredible structure to the next. Its powerful updraft harbored hailstones big enough to shatter your windshield, and its insides were crawling with lightning. The supercell's power and beauty are still unmatched by any other storm I've seen, making this hands down the #1 entry on my list. But the day was far from over. Keeping up with the storm proved challenging, as the road and supercell both turned toward each other, and we had to stay on the very edge of the downdraft to avoid losing our windows. Once out of the storm's grip, we pulled over and stepped outside to take it all in. Even as the storm started to die, its cold outflow choking off the warm updraft it needed to survive, it only grew more menacing by the minute. It was a shame we had to keep running from it, but if we stopped for too long, we would be overtaken by devastating hail. The contracting updraft column revealed the massive bolts of lightning sparking throughout its core. Over a rolling sea of golden prairie, we watched the storm close out its performance as it withered away into thin air. Meanwhile, a smaller but just as visually stunning supercell to our north took the stage and became a flying saucer beneath an incredible painted sky. As the sun went down, the storm put on another mesmerizing light show. Then, way out over the eastern horizon, some other supercells that had appeared earlier in the evening started showing off too. With this eerily beautiful display, we wrapped up an incredible day of chasing storms.